Hi, Michael Force here again with Rise, the digital marketing mastery course. Here in lesson 1, we're going to talk all about marketing. It's really the money machine behind every great business. It's the last department that anybody will get rid of or even downsize. They need marketing more than they really need any other department. Marketing is the key really to any business success. You have to get new customers. If you don't have customers, if you're not bringing in new customers, you don't have a business. So let's break down everything you need to know about that and get in the proper mindset around marketing and understanding the power of marketing and commit to it. And then let's move on to lesson number 2. So let's jump into lesson number 1 and I'll see you on the inside. Hello, welcome to lesson 1 of the Rise Digital Marketing Mastery course. This is the money machine. Marketing is really the key to getting to the next level in any business. It's all about getting customers and getting as many customers as you can in through your front door as possible, and then converting those customers into buyers. And then once they become, they start buying your products, they'll continue to buy them for years as long as you're offering a good value when it comes to your products. Now, you're going to learn how to effectively market your products and services and/or Digital Altitude as an affiliate, whichever you like. You're going to learn how to make your customers really come after your products, and in the end, how to increase your profits and take your business to the next level. That's what it's all about. Now, a little background about this program. It's really the accumulation or brain dump of over 20 years of experience that I've had in sales and marketing, 15 years of which I've spent online learning everything that you can imagine, from tripwires to conversions to the Ascension model to writing copy to getting, building JVs to building your list to essentially creating influence, positioning, adding value, doing training, coaching, speaking. Literally have trained tens of thousands of people over the last 15 years online. So I have worked with a lot of entrepreneurs. I've seen all the mistakes they have made. I've made hundreds of, if not thousands of mistakes myself. And because of all of those mistakes and all those failures is really the reason I succeed. And so I'm essentially going to be able to fast forward your success and show you really, how to skip the school of hard knocks and the trial and error that I went through. So I consider this course to be really a detailed introduction to marketing, but we do get into some intermediate and some advanced later in some other tutorials here. But really, ultimately, we're focusing on how to grow your business with marketing, how to pull in customers, grow that customer base no matter what you sell. So you'll be able to use this skill set and really feed yourself for life here. So let's really jump into it here and get into it. So when it comes down to it, marketing is really a necessary condition to the success of your business. Now, without it, your business will fail. Therefore, if you don't learn how to effectively market products and services, your business will simply not survive. Now, to avoid this fate, in this program, you're going to learn the different approaches to marketing and looking at marketing from its mental, physical, and emotional aspects. If you choose to absorb these techniques, if you decide to adopt these approaches and particular mindsets, you will learn and apply them appropriately to your business. Then not only will you be able to get the results you want, but you'll push your business further than you ever anticipated. Now, on the other hand, if you pass over this material, fly through it, and skip certain parts, you won't learn to become a successful marketer. There are no shortcuts in business and or in life, as we know. Just to give you a simple reminder, your chances of success in business are relatively slim since most startups fail. And that's simply ultimately the truth. Now, regarding this truth, something like 80% of businesses fail in their first 5 years. Now, that's not to say that 80% failure rate for the first 5 years is something that you need to be scared about. Something like 96 fail within the first 10 years and somewhere around 99% fail within the first 15 years. And by large, the biggest reason for this failure when it comes to internal factors is one's control, their own lack of learning, mastering, and applying the marketing skills on the part of an entrepreneur. They usually come up with some grand idea, like they have some perfect cookie recipe and they think everybody in the world's going to like it, and they don't really know how to get customers. That's why mastering marketing almost ensures your success. And that's what we're going to talk about in this course here. So if you can learn all those skill sets, you will be successful. And marketing is probably one of the biggest ones because it's all about getting new customers, right? That's how a business survives. So if you want to fail, if you do not want to get results in your life or in this business and not attract the people you want, not connect to the types of people you want, and ultimately not have the types of power, control, and influence you want in your life, well then I can say just simply avoid learning marketing and things should all just work out fine. But why? Really, why learn marketing? Well, there are 4 very important reasons to learn marketing, and these reasons are tied into the 4 key factors necessary to marketing success. To succeed in marketing, you need to know what to do exactly, right? You need to know what marketing actions to take. You need to know what ads to design, the words to use, and the ways to name your products and services. You need to know what to do when it comes to first understanding the marketing strategy, on how the different elements of marketing fit together and in what way they are applied to the advertisements, sales videos, letters, websites, to really understand the overall hierarchy marketing strategy. You must understand marketing psychology, how the human psychological and emotional systems work, and how and why we make the decisions we make to buy certain things over others. In particular, you must understand how we make decisions when we are in need of something versus how we make decisions the rest of the time. Now, to understand marketing psychology, you must understand how marketing fits into business, as well as understand the marketing mindsets which will force you into a new way of thinking about how things work in marketing, that in turn will allow you to see business, relationships, and the entire world in a new way. I know it changed everything for me as I learned marketing over the years, because I found out the colors and sounds and all the sensory type stuff that is applied to marketing has a dramatic effect in your decision-making process. Now, these marketing mindsets are what will ultimately allow you to succeed in the marketing game. Now, to sum up, we must learn the marketing mindset so we can understand marketing psychology, which will allow us to create a marketing strategy so we can take the correct actions that get people to buy what you're selling. This, in the end, is what will ultimately make us the money we need to succeed in our business and in our lives. Now, in the first part of this program, we're going to learn the different marketing mindsets, how marketing fits into business, why we need to learn and succeed in marketing, and new ways to look at the world, which will help us understand how it all comes together. Now, in the second part of this program, we're going to learn about marketing psychology, how our human psychological and emotional systems work, and why we make decisions to buy one thing or over another. Why we spend lots of time learning the structure of how we make decisions differently when we have a strong need compared to the rest of the time. Learning this difference is absolutely vital to help you sell products and services to people who want to buy. Now, in the third part of this program, we're going to learn marketing strategy and how the different pieces of marketing and sales fit and work together. In addition to this, we're going to learn how advertisements work with sales, video, sales letters, websites, and technology. We'll learn this so we can understand what exactly we're building and how it all works together to create marketing and sales systems that run seamlessly and automatically. And in the fourth part of this program, we're going to learn about specific marketing actions we need to take. This includes how to create compelling advertisements that get attention, to steer people to respond in the ways you desire. This will include how to write attention-grabbing headlines and engaging copy, using the most powerful emotional words and phrases to hook people in and pique their interest for your products and services. We'll learn all this ultimately to push people to make the decisions to buy from us and trade us money for the product and services that we're selling, so we can make increased profits and superior income to take our business towards the promised land, right? Again, the general process is to learn the different marketing mindsets which will help us appropriately understand marketing psychology. This in turn will allow us to craft an effective marketing strategy, enabling us to implement the correct marketing actions to drive people to buy your products and services. When you learn these 4 elements successfully and in particular order, you'll have the specific knowledge, tools, and power to create exceptional, powerful ads, sales materials, and marketing resources to sell any product or service that you create and bring to the market. So as I mentioned, this program comes in 4 sections: marketing mindsets, marketing psychology, marketing strategy, and marketing actions. In this first section, we're going to learn the marketing mindsets, how you must keep in mind that each of these sections is broken up into different individual sessions. So even though we have 4 different sections in this program, we're going to have about 20 different sessions. So in this set of sessions with section 1, marketing mindsets, we are now in session 1, which is really the introduction to marketing. So let's get introduced to marketing and learn some of the mindsets we need that are absolutely necessary for getting to our ultimate goal. That is to push people to buy our products and services. This program is all about marketing. The word marketing is included in the name of the program, and in the end, marketing is simply about getting customers for your business. If you don't know how to get customers, then you don't have security or stability in your business. It's just that simple. The skill of being able to proactively go out and find prospects, convert these prospects into interested buyers, and ultimately sell to customers is the core skill that gives you security and stability in your business. If you don't have it, you neither have stability nor security. You have only a business that lies on weak structure, ready to fall towards its demise at any perilous moment. The sad and unfortunate truth nowadays is that most people just won't go out and get customers for their business. This is exactly how and why most businesses die. This is how their founders lose precious money, time, and energy. If you ask these business owners or former business owners why their business failed, you will consistently hear a common theme related to not having enough customers. However, the strange paradox is that even though most people know how imperative customers are to their business, they simply won't go out and get the customers they so desperately need. This unfortunately stems from a series of negative mindsets which cause us to block the thought actually going out and getting customers. Most of these mindsets are rooted in what we've learned when we were children, what we've learned from our family, from society at large, and from watching the news, and from just walking around in everyday life. Among these things we learned is a sort of unfair bias against salespeople and marketers. We'll talk more about this bias a little later, but for now, it's important to simply recognize and admit that most of us don't consider it as a possibility going out and proactively getting customers for our business. Instead, we think that business success is about creating a product or service, getting the word out, and then we just sit back while having people come to us beating down our doors to give us their money. Often we find out too late that we are just standing there with no one knocking, no one calling, and definitely no one trying to beat down our doors to give us their money. This mindset of wait and get rich or die trying is all too prevalent. Regardless of the reasons, which we'll discuss later, the truth is that we have this inner paradigm that simply does not have marketing and sales as part of creating business success. The sad reality is we just don't go out and get customers for a business, and therefore our business dies. Then we sit there making excuses and things like, my Yellow Page ad got screwed up and the Yellow Pages, and that's why I didn't get any business, blah, 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 blah. Or that person in that so-and-so department gave me a hard time and ultimately caused me to fail. We have these different excuses. Some of them are actually pretty good, and all of these excuses lead to the same dark road, and that is of failure. The one crucial component of the marketing mindset shift we must take is understanding that business success is very different from job success. In general, people tend to bring mindsets from previous experiences and apply them to new situations. As I previously mentioned, when we were children, we learned certain things growing up. We also learn from what we watch on TV and absorb from society and culture. We start to embed certain practices and perspectives. We watch TV, we talk to other people, and we get in the habit of doing things a certain way. And we bring these previous experiences and try to apply their lessons to new situations, which may have absolutely nothing to do with our own perspective and mindset. In fact, as far as our own mindset is concerned, just because we're having a new experience, it doesn't mean that it's actually new, since many of us like to look at through the prisms of the past, through the looking glass of our own experiences and perspectives. We say things like, oh yeah, that's the same as this other thing that happened. Or when building our businesses, most of us have a certain experience in our past called having a job, and we tend to bring this job mindset with us as we build our entrepreneurial business. But it's very important you understand that this job mindset is so much different than what's needed for the real business world when necessitates a marketing mindset. Now, to explain, job success is typically about reactively doing work, receiving tasks, and doing them, whereas business success is about proactively going out and getting customers. So, what's the difference between reactively doing work and proactively getting customers? And how can this help or hurt us as we're growing the business and learning marketing? Most of us started out with jobs. In other words, someone else owned the business we worked in. They were taking the risk of putting all the money, time, and effort while taking responsibility for everything that the business delivers, whether they have anything to do with it or not. And in order to grow their business, they needed to hire others to do some of the work inside of their business. Thus, when we get a job working for other business owners, we're simply not aware of all the business risks being taken. We don't have a clue as to all the time, effort, energy, and money that owners are investing to build their businesses. We're also not really aware of how valuable it is to be getting a steady paycheck, and how the owner of the business may not guarantee us a steady paycheck since they have to manage all the ups and downs and roll with all the process. That makes up the core of this business. So, what we learn to do is our job, and oftentimes we get a job description which clearly outlines the things we're supposed to do, as well as the procedures we must follow. As a result, we get into the passive mindset where we simply show up on time and do what we're asked to do. Well, hopefully at least. Why do the things we're asked to do, and then we get the paycheck, right? We do the things we're asked to do, and then we get the paycheck. Now, at the end of the day, that money is given to us generally because we showed up and did the work. Of course, all of our lives, we get more jobs, and this leads us to become even more convinced of the job mindset, and that this is just the way everything is. That's the way the world works. I get some education and some experience. I create my resume. I interview well, and then I get a job which entitles me to do a certain amount of work and getting a paycheck. In return, all I have to do is show up, get the work, and do the work, right? Or get assigned the work and do the work. Now, when you first start a business, you're in for a pretty good surprise. For anyone that started their business already, you know what I'm talking about. The surprise is that there isn't anyone to show up and assign you the work. There isn't anyone to show up and get the customers. There isn't anyone to show up and tell you what to do and give your job description. And most importantly, there isn't anyone to show up and give you a steady paycheck, which is really a shock to the system because we got so used to the idea of showing up to work, being assigned the work, doing the work, and hallelujah, getting that paycheck. Most of us have never really looked behind the scenes at our jobs to ask how it all works. Where does all this work come from? And how are we getting customers in the first place? And the more businesses we work for, especially the larger and more successful businesses, the more we just see it as, oh, it's just the way things work. The business owner just simply started the company. Customers just simply started rolling in and spending their loads of cash, and that's it. You're thinking that these business owners have it really easy. Of course, when you start your first business, you realize that's just not that way at all. At this point, you start thinking about what went behind the scenes, been on behind the scenes in those past jobs, and start thinking about how to create the same system that business owner used to get all those customers. That is the real trick here, and that is what it's really at. And is exactly what marketing is all about. This now brings up a different question, and the question is not if you want to learn marketing or if you're willing to start a business. The question is, are you willing to do whatever it takes to succeed? The willingness to do whatever it takes, this motivation and eagerness to adopt a proactive attitude is the key to succeed in marketing. You'll often have to step outside your comfort zone to succeed with marketing. You'll have to face and overcome your fears of embarrassment, rejection, and pushing people. In many cases, you'll have to do whatever it takes. Now, some people answer, well, I'm not willing to do anything that's unethical or harmful to another person or anything that goes against my principles and values. Now, of course, this isn't what I'm saying. You'll never be asked to do something that's dishonest or harmful to hurt another person. But outside of that, there are many things that you may need to do which definitely lie way outside of your comfort zone. The question is, are you willing to go there? Now, in order to succeed in marketing, you may need to go out in person. Start walking up to complete strangers and begin asking them questions. You may need to do lots of persuading and ask these strangers while looking them straight in the eye to buy what you're selling and give you their money in return. You may need to face embarrassment or rejection many times in order to find that magic marketing formula that actually works consistently and predictably, that allows you to build that business which will continue to scale and grow, giving you a sustainable profit for the long term. So again, the question is, are you willing to do whatever it takes to succeed? Because if the answer is no, you might as well throw in the towel right now. Whatever your fear is, put it in front of you as you become more and more successful in marketing and sales. You can also be assured that your biggest fear will surely come up in some way, and you will eventually need to face it down and overcome it, or run away like the Roadrunner, right? Sales and marketing requires maturity. It requires being proactive. It calls for self-motivation and figuring out whatever you have to do to get yourself to do the job. So, are you willing to do whatever it takes? One of the things that I found very valuable as an approach to learning a new area or mastering something is to look at it from several different perspectives. Now, the concept of defining a word or an idea is very powerful. The challenge with defining something is that when you define it, you lock it in your mind with one certain perspective. In reality, however, definitions change over time, and depending upon the perspective we take, the definitions can be different. So what I thought would be valuable for us is to take a look at marketing from several different perspectives, to take a look at numerous definitions to get a more complete and holistic view of marketing. So here are 5 definitions of marketing that I'd like us to consider. The first definition of marketing is getting customers. Basically, the marketing function inside of your business is about getting customers and doing all the things you need to do based around acquiring these customers. Now, this is such a broad concept, and it could include things like making sure that people working inside of your business are dressed professionally, are giving super customer service, are being friendly. We also try to make sure that they do things that cause others to tell stories to each other. We get word-of-mouth marketing or making designs that have people saying things to themselves and others. I like and trust this business. This also includes more traditional things like ads, direct mail campaigns, internet marketing, online marketing, videos, and so on. So one definition of marketing is simply about getting customers. A second definition of marketing is that it's advertising, advertising, and advertising. Now, we'll learn about these distinctions later in the program, but for now, I consider advertising as all of those things that you do to go out and find new prospective customers. This includes determining where you're going, where they are, where they're traveling, and getting in front of them and kind of alerting them that you have this opportunity for them to solve a particular problem of theirs. This would basically consist of running advertisements, which include banner ads, pay-per-click ads on the internet, running advertisements in printed publications or on radio, TV, so on and so forth. They say that this is a particular type of marketing called advertising. It's usually thought of as a display, so you can create something that's kind of static with words and sometimes pictures and sometimes moving objects or audio. You're out there trying to interrupt people by displaying an ad and putting it in front of them. This is another definition of marketing. Thirdly, there is a definition of marketing which states that the sales function inside of larger businesses is usually part of the marketing department. So marketing and sales are considered one thing, and again, all a part of getting customers, right? Now, sales is a powerful paradigm and a frame for marketing because sales is about proactively getting out there yourself and finding people, asking people these questions to probe their needs, and getting them to tell you what specific needs they have so you could convince them to buy. Of course, this all includes closing the deal and asking you for their order, or putting a proper process in place where you literally convert that person into a customer. Each of these actions, consisting of a positive step towards a sale, is called a conversion. And in the type of marketing we're going to learn about in this program, we're going to focus a lot on conversion. Specifically, the type of marketing we discuss is called direct response marketing, where we go directly to customers and ask them to respond. But how exactly do we get a customer to take an action that gets them closer to a purchase? This is the fourth definition of marketing, where marketing consists of a conversion, basically getting a customer to take a specific action. Finally, the fifth definition of marketing, and it's a very important one, is what we might call back-end marketing or upselling and remarketing. The common definition of the common paradigm of marketing is it's everything you do to get a customer in the first place. Some of these that we already talked about include going out and running ads, doing direct sales, sending letters and trying to get people to come to your website or contact your business. Well, what the experts have learned, and what I've learned over several years of running very successful companies, is that the real money is not in getting a customer in the first place. The real money is figuring out how to get someone to buy more stuff from you, and this is where upselling and remarketing come in. Now, an upsell is while you're purchasing something and are in the process of the computer or person creating the sale, which asks if you'd like to buy some other things. For example, electronic stores will upsell insurance policies on the products that you're buying while you're at the checkout counter purchasing with the electronic device. This is an upsell, and it's very profitable. Many large electronics companies have built in solely on their profit to make from the insurance they sell at the checkout, not from the actual electronic devices themselves. If you're on a website ordering something from Amazon, you often see the other products that would go along with the product you've just added to your cart, which may include a bundled type offer. The basic idea is presented as, hey, you bought this, so you should also buy one of these. That's the general idea of an upsell, okay? You want fries with that? That's a perfect example. Now, and another example is if you call a number from an infomercial seen on television, you'll notice that while ordering, they often upsell and ask you to buy other things. So this is upselling, offering other products and services at the point of purchase while the customer is buying. Then there's remarketing and or back-end marketing, where you go back to a customer who already purchased from you and ask them to purchase once again. In numerous different analysis and studies, results have shown it's usually 3 to 5 times, sometimes 10 times less expensive to sell an additional product to a customer you already have than it is to go out and get a new customer. And so if it's 5 or 10 times as expensive to get a new customer than it is to sell more stuff to existing customers you already have, it definitely makes sense for you to become a pro at remarketing. In other words, it is great marketing when you are finding out what your customers want to buy after they purchase your product or service, and then offering great products and services to sell them. So from this perspective, upselling and remarketing is more marketing than a lot of other things like advertising and sales. Think about Apple that gets you in at the iPhone, and then next thing you know, you're buying a MacBook Pro, you're buying an iMac, you're all of a sudden getting a subscription on iTunes and buying movies and books and music. You can kind of get the idea. Now, there you have it. Those are the 5 different definitions of marketing: getting customers, advertising, sales, conversion, and upselling and remarketing. Now, we could create many more definitions if we wanted to, but these 5 give us enough of a feel for what marketing is about and what it means from all these different aspects. We can now use the term marketing to describe some of these things. Other aspects we will learn, but we cannot understand, or we can now understand what marketing means, and therefore we will be facing and learning it in the rest of the program here. As previously mentioned, it's absolutely crucial that you commit yourself to learning and eventually mastering marketing. You now have an idea of what marketing is and why it's so vital for your business. Make the commitment to yourself to learn and master marketing. It's by far the most important thing you can do for the success of your business and your financial future. We've all fantasized about creating a product or service that sells itself, and we can sometimes do this, but the way to do it is to learn and master marketing. Because in the end, by learning and mastering marketing, you will get into the minds of your customers. You will understand what drives and motivates them as what gets them to take action to buy certain products over others. You'll then understand more about how to create or modify your product or service so it perfectly aligns with the needs of your customers. Without getting into the minds of your customers, without understanding the relationship of your products to your customers, without going out there and proactively selling your product or service, you will never build a successful business. Learning and mastering marketing is ultimately the most important concept you should apply to constructing a super successful business and securing a flourishing financial future. So let's do an exercise. At this point, we're going to commit to being a marketer. Thus, you should be looking at this exercise from the perspective of fully committing to being a marketer. In relationships, we tend to behave based on how we see and find others, ourselves in the world. To succeed in business, it's absolutely critical to identify yourself mentally as a marketer. as someone who proactively goes out and uses the tools you are learning in this program to get customers for your business. If you have unconsciously avoided learning marketing or sales because of any previously held prejudices and biases against these professions, now is the time to change this thought process once and for all. The success of your business depends on it. Now, don't forget to tell yourself that you are fully and completely committed to becoming a marketer. Where have I avoided the identity of a marketer in my life and business, and why? What can I do today to begin shifting my identity from a reactive job mentality to a proactive marketing mentality? And at last but not least, what fear will I need to overcome to succeed as a marketer? And what must I do to overcome it? The answer to this question in particular requires being strong and deeply honest with yourself. It consists of looking deep inside yourself to figure out what fear you will need to overcome in order to succeed as a marketer and what you have to do in order to overcome it. Complete this exercise with a full commitment and honesty. Try to put as much detail as you can so you can learn more and more about yourself. As for me, I'll see you on the next session. Take care.